So when you speak about a machine learning, I said the definition is all about, so you are going to improve the performance based on the previous experience. So you are going to make machines to learn and from the past experience in order to improve the performance. So I can give such kind of definition also for the machine learning. So to improve, so what I said, to improve the performance using its experience, right? So in order to improve the performance using its experience, so we can say like machine learning. Machine learning helps to learn behavior from the past experience. So that is something we call it as machine learning. And I said that when you speak about the types of machine learning, so I just told you you do have three major types. One is supervised, supervised learning, and second one unsupervised, and third one we call it as a reinforcement learning. So or else what we call it as so there is another type which we won't use it most often. We call it as semi-supervised. Yeah. So when we discuss about supervised learning, so again I can classify the supervised learning into two categories. One is regression model, and second one is classification problem. So I can say a regression problem. When you speak about a regression problem, so whatever I just told you about a linear regression, finding a price for house. So what are the examples that I have discussed? So 2000 square feet again, it's a $2,000, right? And 4,000 square feet again, the price is 4,000. So I have some set of data, and now if I'm able to, if I'm asking, so what could be the price for the 3,000 square feet? Now I know that's going to be a $3,000, right? So that is something I can get this output. So this is an output I'm expecting. So this output can be derived from the trained data model, data set. So already existing data which I can derive the new data. So that is something, the definition for supervised learning. Supervised learning, so this is something we have some predefined or some set of some trained data will be available. Some trained data will be available, so that based on the trained data, you can able to find the new value, new output. So that is something we call it as supervised learning. Example episode, if I'm just teaching you all the stuff, and I'm giving, I'm just giving some task, I'm explaining some task, and I'm giving another task with the same pattern, then you can able to solve, right? So that is something we call it as supervised learning. Supervised learning, there will be a supervisor for you to help you to learn. So that is something we call it as supervised. Supervised nana. So you will have a teacher, or you will have some learning. Reference already some sample data. So that is we call it as supervised learning. Unsupervised learning, you won't have any sample data. So now I just want to find the price for 5,000 square feet. I just want to find the cost of 5,000 square feet, but I don't have any data, trained data. So that is something which comes under unsupervised learning. So there won't be any trained data model set, trained models for you to find the output. So that is something called unsupervised learning. So unsupervised learning la pathina vandu nana, so inga sonna madri vandu nana, so we will be using it for we'll be using it for clustering. Yes, I can give this as an example for unsupervised learning. So that's why we have an algorithm, something called k-mean, k-nearest neighbor, knn algorithm. So these are all something algorithm based on a clustering process. So this will comes with unsupervised learning. Clear? So apart from that, when we speak about semi-supervised, so we can say that a supervised learning plus unsupervised learning are grouped together. We call it as semi-supervised learning. So which means you will have a trained data, or sometimes you may not have a trained data set. So that is something we call it as semi-supervised layer. So it's combination of supervised and unsupervised learning, but maximum on the a lot of observation that are unlabeled. Only few are labeled. So maximum on the for semi-supervised, so maximum data which don't have a labeled one. Label na, so I just say that a square feet price. So this is something we call it as label. So 2,000 square feet to $2,000. So in the price in dollar, right? 4,000 square feet. So $4,000. So this is something, you know that this is square feet and it says, but in the label is that. So that is something we call it as unsupervised. So most of the data there won't be it's an unlabeled, only few are labeled. So that is something called semi-supervised. And for the reinforcement learning, I told you it's something a difference from the supervised and unsupervised. Right now, recently the most of the industries are working towards the reinforcement learning. So reinforcement learning now, so it says about so reinforcement learning says about the work on based on, so I can write as based on behavior. So you can say example that robotics. So you know that the game playing algorithm, so so you know that a person standing here and you have a lot of games, right? So moving, and if there is an obstacle over here, it jump or it moves towards the left or right. So a temple run or subway surfer, so something, right? So that is something we call it as reinforcement learning from the behavior na? So example, what I can say, like I told you an example that IPL or something, you are playing a cricket and you find that the opponent, the first player, they have given around 240 runs to 240 as a target for 20 overs. So the second player, they should hit on the very first over itself. So they can't simply go for a driving or they want to set the wicket first. So they have to take a 10 overs for that, setting a wicket. So it so they have to plan accordingly in order to reach this behavior, right? So suddenly on the nana or 5 wicket drop idea, the sixth player on the nana, they should not hit, right? So he has to stand for some time, right? At least for to improve the run rate. So that is something we call it as a reinforcement. So it works based on the time and the time of the what is happening. So it reads that and it will work accordingly. So that is something we call it as reinforcement learning. Clear?